We are live here on the shot clock with a little Knicks Pistons recap of Game 5. We are live here, and listen, let's get right into it. Let's not even waste any time with this game, okay? I'm gonna bring the game cast up here so everyone can see it, okay? Now, I'm gonna talk mainly from a Knicks perspective because I think this game's more about the Knicks than it is about Detroit, to be honest with you. And I'll start there. If you're a Knicks fan, or you root for the Knicks, or you think you want the Knicks to win a championship, you want them to have all these high, lofty goals, and you want them to compete with Boston and Cleveland and try to, make it out of the East. Tonight's game is exactly why your confidence would not be high in that area. Because, listen, the Knicks have shown you all year that they have not beat the top teams in the NBA. What are they, 1-20 or something against the top 4 teams, whatever it is. They have come up short in that regard. Now, you thought coming into the playoffs, okay, this is going to be an issue when you play Boston, if you play Boston in the second round or whoever you play. But they showed you tonight exactly why that's why they're not in that conversation with Boston and they're not in that conversation with Cleveland, because championship level teams, they close that series out tonight. That's just what it is. If we're just being honest. Championship level teams close that series out tonight. And it comes down to this, right? Like, Boston closed out Orlando tonight, 5-game series, because Boston's a championship level team. Cleveland didn't even let Miami into the series, swept them in 4 games, embarrassed them in Game 4. Now, I'm not trying to say Detroit's not a good basketball team, because they are. They're tough. They're well coached. They play hard. They play great defense, all those things. But Detroit doesn't have near the talent level that the Knicks have in this series. Not even close. Not even close. And they've been in the series. They obviously could. They could be winning the series right now. They blew Game 1. They got a rough call in Game 4. Either of those games go their way, they're up in the series, right? So it's not like there's been a blowout. But that's exactly the issue with the Knicks. You're up 3-1 in this series. You go home for a closeout game. Your best player, Jalen Brunson's banged up with an ankle injury. You have other guys banged up. You need the rest to get ready for Boston to begin with. And on top of that, you want to be a championship level team, then you got to bury this Detroit Piston team tonight and put them in the ground. Put your foot on their neck and get rid of them. That's what a great championship team does. And I'm not saying they can't win the series now anyway and go in Detroit and win Game 6. We know they can do that. They just won 2 games in Detroit in Games 3 and 4. But that's not the point. Why should you have to go through that now to try to close this series out with banged up players? Now you got to fight tooth and nail because this Detroit team's not going away. They're a tough team. They're going to make you work for every basket. And let me read this to you. And this is how disappointing this game was tonight. Okay? These are the stats for the Pistons tonight. And they somehow won this game on the road in an elimination game. Okay? The Pistons shot 42.4% from the field. You see it down there. They shot 8 of 29 for 3, which is 27% from 3. Their best player, Kane Cunningham, shot 6 of 17 from the floor. 6 of 17. And really didn't have a good offensive game until the very end of the game. He hit a couple shots. Otherwise, he didn't have a great offensive game. And the Pistons go into Madison Square Garden in an elimination game. In a game the Knicks have to get ready for Boston, and they upset the Knicks with that offensive performance. That's inexcusable if you're a Knick. If you're the Knicks. It's inexcusable. Inexcusable. And the Knicks got good performances from Robinson off the bench. I thought he was great. His best game since he's been back from injury, honestly. Controlled the game. He was a +9 tonight, had by far the best plus-minus. Deuce McBride, even though is still not getting going with his three-point shot. Really, he's been so up and down all year and just hasn't been able to consistently find that three-point shot all year, and it's really hurt him as opposed to last year when he came on strong at the end of the year. But I thought he played a good floor game tonight. His defense was good, his ball pressure was great, and he he brings a different speed to the game for the Knicks. And I thought he had a decent game. Josh Hart had a good game tonight. His third straight good game in a row. OG, I thought, had a pretty good game tonight. But what it comes down to is the Knicks' big three. They're three big players. They're three top scorers. None of them had good games tonight. Bridges was a minus 14, and his stat line's going to say better than it was. Listen, he's a good defensive player. He's always going to play good defense. But offensively, he just cannot get going in this series. 7 of 16 from the floor, 2 of 5 from 3, and one of them came late. Towns had a rough game tonight. 17 points, 11 rebounds, but only 5 of 14 from the floor. And I thought the Knicks went back to, the offensive game plan they had in games 1 and 2 that didn't work. And I don't really know what happened. Because games 3 and 4, I thought their process was a lot better. The ball movement, the player movement was better. And I thought we were going to see that again tonight. We just didn't. I don't know if the Knicks are just a better road team they are a home team, but that's what we saw. And again, they couldn't get Towns the ball where he needed it. He's catching the ball at the three-point line almost every play. He's uninvolved. He's not shooting threes because they can't get him looks from out there. And then Jalen Brunson just didn't have a good game. I know he got banged up late, but he really just was ineffective for most of the game tonight. Missing shots he normally makes, and it happens. You're not going to have a great game every game. But regardless of that, the game was still there for the taking. It was still there for the taking. Detroit was trying to give it to the Knicks with both hands tonight. And with that said, we're going back to Detroit for Game 6. And I'll say one thing about Detroit, because you got to give them a ton of credit, because they don't give up. They fight. They're a tough team. They're not the most talented team. We know that. They have Cade Cunningham and a bunch of role players, to be quite honest. Some good role players, but a bunch of role players. Tobias Harris is a pretty good player. We know he's an all-star caliber player in the past, but he's kind of a notch below, I think, an all-star. But he's a good player. Beasley's a good shooter. Hardaway's a streaky player. Duran's a nice inside player, but those guys are role players. Those are rotation players around Cade. The Knicks, from a talent perspective, the discrepancy is large. But the Pistons played hard. They play good defense. They don't give up. They make you earn it. And the Knicks, they just, every time you think they might be turning the corner this year, they can't do it. And I hope I'm wrong when I say this, but I got to be objective and I got to be fair. It's not a championship level team. And last year's team, which wasn't as talented as this year's team, I thought if they got to Boston, if they didn't have all those injuries, and they got to Boston, I thought they would have given Boston everything they could handle. I think they would have come up short, but I thought it would have been a heck of a series. This year, I'm not sure what they would even do against Boston anyway. Boston's a notch and a half above them until they prove you otherwise. And tonight, they had a chance at least to say, you know what? We're going to put this team to bed. We're going to put our foot on their neck. We're going to bury them when we need to. We got a home game. We won the 2 games in Detroit. We had to win. Great job there. Now we come home. This is not a giveaway game. This should not have been a game you came in as a casual. If you're a Knick, you come in there, hey, we're up 3-1. We got a game to play with. No, you don't. No, you don't. Championship level teams don't play like that. They don't act like that. And I'm not trying to say the Knicks went in there and didn't play hard tonight. They did. I'm not trying to say they didn't want the game. Of course they did. But there's a mental aspect of this that you got to go in and play desperate tonight, because that's what they should have played. They should have played like they were down 3-1, and I didn't see that tonight. You don't want to go back to Detroit. Now you got a series now. Now you got a series. Detroit's now thinking, hey, we can win in the Garden. That's not tough to play there. They should have won all 3 games in the Garden. They won 2 of them. The other one, they were up the whole game. They gave it away in the 4th quarter. They should have won all 3 of them. They're not afraid to go win in the Garden. So all they got to do, they're thinking, go home. Let's get game 6 at home. Let's win a home game. We'll take it back to the Garden. We'll take our chances where we've outplayed the Knicks the entire series. That's what I'd be thinking if I'm Detroit. Tonight should have been a game the Knicks buried them. They should have won this game by double digits. And I'll say this too. The officiating was atrocious tonight on both sides. Atrocious. The NBA should be embarrassed when they have officials go out there and call a game like that. And I'll tell you why from this standpoint. And it wasn't, the officials didn't cost the Knicks the game. It was bad on both sides. So this has nothing to do with the Knicks loss or whatever it was. The NBA lets the players play more in the playoffs. We know this. We see this. They allow a lot more contacts, a lot more physical. And I love that. I think that's great. I'd rather let the players play. I hate all the foul calls in the regular season. Let them play. Let them be physical. Let the players decide the game on the court. I love that. And they've done that pretty much this entire series, except tonight. The refs called that game like it was a regular season game in January or November. And when you do that, when you change up the entire way you call a series, the players can't adjust to that. They can't course correct for that. Because you've been calling the series so physical, you've been letting them be so physical with each other, letting them play, and then all of a sudden tonight, every tick someone breathes on someone, it's a foul. So the players don't know how to course correct that because they've been playing a certain style the whole series, and now all of a sudden the officials changed it up without letting them know. That's garbage. Garbage. And the NBA should be ashamed. They shouldn't even allow officials to officiate. If I was the commissioner and I saw a game officiated like that, and I was in the building tonight, they should give the fans their money back for that trash that they put out there with those officials. And I know how hard the officiating is, and I'm not trying to get on the officials, okay? Because for the most part, in these playoffs, the officiating's been fine. But tonight's game was an embarrassment. And if you're the commissioner and you see a game officiated like that, I'd yank those guys right out of the series. They would never see another playoff game. I hate that. I hate when the officials insert themselves into the game and they make the game all about themselves. Because that's what tonight's game was about. It was horrendously officiated on both sides. And as a Knicks fan, I'll admit that. Had nothing to do with the Knicks. It was just a terrible game. It was a terribly officiated. It was very unaesthetically pleasing to watch. No fan wants to watch that garbage. Oh, he puts his head, foul. I thought we were going to set an all-time record for fouls tonight. Can't allow that. And no one wants to watch that. I guarantee if you ask any fan, they don't want to watch that garbage. Awful. But if you're a Knicks fan, and if you're a Piston fan, I'll say this too. You got to feel confident right now going back to Detroit. You got to feel confident. You can come back in this series. I don't think there's any doubt about it. The Pistons could have won any one of these games in this series. They could be up 3-2. They could have won the series already. That's how close this series has been. They have every chance to win this series. And that's why it was so important for the Knicks to bury them tonight and show, hey, we're ready for Boston. Let's get Boston. Let's give him our best shot. Let's prove the regular season didn't mean anything. It's the playoffs now. And the truth is, the regular season doesn't mean anything. You throw that out the window, and you go to the playoffs, and you roll the ball out, and you play. It's a different game. It's a different style in the playoffs. But the Knicks showed you tonight, they're not ready for that yet. They're not ready for it. And if they had lost the game because Detroit just went out there and outplayed him and made a bunch of threes and Cade hit some tough shots, you would have been like, all right, that's a tough loss. But not the way they played tonight. The Pistons' offense was atrocious tonight. Atrocious. And you can't beat them in a home game to close out a series. I don't know how you go forward and you have confidence that you think this team could go out and then beat, if they get out of this series, which we'll see, and then go beat Boston. Because even if they win Game 6 in Detroit, they showed you everything you need to know tonight. They showed you everything you need to know. And everyone's comparing this game to last year when the Knicks played the Sixers in the first round. If you remember, they had Game 5. They blew that game, and then they went on to win Game 6 in Philly. That was much different because the Knicks played a good game in that Game 5, and they should have fouled Maxey at the end of the game. They didn't. They let him walk into a 3. That was more of a coaching mistake, in my opinion, and an execution mistake at the end of the game. They didn't play a terrible game that night, and the Sixers played a good game. You give them the credit, and they went back to Philly. This was a game the Knicks had to win and should have won. But once again, give Detroit credit. They've played a great series. They're a good, young, upcoming team. And I think in the future, when they get that second scorer, which is what they need, put him next to Cade, keep some of these core pieces. Asor Thompson played a great game tonight. He was tremendous tonight. Forgot to mention him. I wanted to mention him because I thought he was great on both ends tonight. And Jalen Duren, same thing. He played a tremendous game tonight, too. So if they could get some pieces around, that second score around some of these core pieces, I think they're going to be a heck of a team going forward. But in my opinion, this game was more about the Knicks and what they didn't do. So we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do a post-game recap of the Warriors, Rockets, and the Lakers, Timberwolves. I will also be doing play-by-play of both those second halves of those games as long as they're decently close on TikTok. So tune in on TikTok if you want the play-by-play for both those games. And I'll be on after the games to do a little post-game recap. That's it for today. Shot clock is out.